Have you ever noticed that the chair was supposed to be her, she is always empty? This is a question that may seem simple at first glance, but it has an emotional weight of enormous when you think about the little and the big event of the absence that mark our lives. Often, they do not pay attention to the fact that, at family get-togethers, there's a chair that's never busy. There is a presence that remains the same when it all seemed to be accounted for. It is as if, for behind the laughter, the song, and in the conversations, there was a quiet, silent, almost invisible, the one that speaks louder than the words. And stay with me until the very end, because that's all you're going to find out right now might surprise you. This is the chair empty. It has a story, a message that goes far beyond what we had imagined. Let's imagine a scenario of a typical family get-together. People will gather around the table for delicious food, laughter, echoing through the atmosphere, the music in the background, and that sense of unity. I think that's perfect, isn't it? But all of a sudden, his eyes fixed on the empty chair. It is an absence that hurts, even though it may seem a minor detail that is common to those who don't know the story behind it. And there you have it. You begin to realize that this gap is not just a matter of space or time that are difficult to reconcile. It is something much deeper and more complex. It's the mark that it leaves a mark not visible in the history of each one present. Have you ever gone through this? Have you ever felt that no matter how you try to hide it, there's a pain goes on and that seems never to be fully resolved? Stay with me. In the next section, we will understand the reasons that you often listen to these absences and what they might be hiding something more than a simple forgetfulness or lack of interest. You will find that these excuses, a lot of times, they carry a weight that goes above and beyond below. Most importantly, we're going to explore that the empty chair is truly in your life that you feel you're not around. Because trust me, it symbolizes more than it may seem. And the next thing that happens, can you change the perception of these little absences? That is, in fact, have a history of exclusion, silencing, and a lot of times, and the racism shown. So, stay with me, because the best is yet to come. If you can identify with the story, please know that your feedback is crucial to the strengthening of our conversation. Leave here in the comments on this story, or is the subject of this until now, and touched more deeply into you. Share your experiences or opinions. It helps to create a community where we can support and learn together. Extending, this message is so important to all of us. And if that kind of content, it makes sense to you, don't miss to enjoy this video. In this simple gesture will make a big difference, because it encourages more people to think about these issues that are so important, and it gives you the strength for us to continue bringing you stories that make us think and to change them. In addition to this, if you want to keep close to this kind of content, subscribe to the channel. Your being here is what makes that space to grow and to reach more people, and helping to spread this message of empathy and awareness. So, we invite you to continue with us on this journey. There is still a lot of stories and ideas that are worth to be shared and enjoyed together. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the transformation that we often starts off just the way we perceive our own reality. It is as if we are caught up in a narrative that has been built up over the course of the time, often without realizing it, and it ends up shaping our choices, our emotions, and the impact they make on the world around us. In the process, and the fact it hides many of the times, it is in how we interpret the events in the stories we tell ourselves, or the limitations that we have accepted as being cast in stone. To understand these dynamics, it is essential to understand that the human mind is a very powerful tool, but it can also be a great friend or a great enemy, depending on how you use it. When we are stuck in a fixed mindset, we believe that with our abilities, our opportunities, and our emotions are defined and set in stone. This view limits our potential for transformation, as it prevents us from seeing the possibilities beyond what has already been established. At this point, the revolution begins on head at a change of beliefs and the courage to face your own shadows that they often prefer to hide in. And that's what's important to question the decisions that we make on a daily basis. Each choice reveals something about our way of thinking and a willingness to evolve. If our actions are always in line with a view of the scarcity or fear, it is a sign that there is a need for in-depth review on the way we see the world. When we started to see possibilities where before you could only see obstacles, we begin to make space for a new narrative, a story of empowerment and growth. This is a change of mindset, which is one of the biggest revelations of behind the scenes of a hit, because it acts as the catalyst that transforms an impact in the legacy of dreams into concrete achievements. However, for this journey of self-discovery is really happening, you have to have the courage to face up to the truths that are hidden. Too often, we carry the frustrations and limitations that you don't even got to decide, out of fear or a sense of powerlessness. And there you have it. The transformation is not the case because we stuck to our own comfort zones, even if they cause us to feel unhappy. To change it requires a clean break, a moment of revelation in which we allow ourselves to see beyond what has been taught or believed to be the absolute truth. It's that time of the change of paradigm that we begin to realize what we are capable of so much more than we imagined, and that our decisions have a direct impact on our journey of growth. For this reason, it is important to understand that the transformation is not something that is external. It is a magic formula that is falling from the sky, but it's a built-in, which requires self-awareness self-awareness, reflection, and a willingness to challenge your own comfort zone. When we begin to uncover the deeper layers of our own emotions and to understand the roots of our own limitations becomes all the more clear to you. And, in the process, we can see that a lot of our problems are a reflection of an account that exists only in our minds, often fueled by the limiting beliefs that are inherited or imposed upon it by the environment. To realize this, a new perspective emerges that we could rewrite our story at any time, as long as you have the courage to face the truth hidden in and take control of our decision-making. This is the culmination of a journey of transformation. The truth does not change the surface, but the internal revolution, which impacts everything around you, and they, in turn, affect the people who are on our side. And with that movement, every step, every decision you make, it's a key part of the construction of a new reality. A reality where the impact is real and it is long-lasting. Now, I want you to go even deeper on this topic because understanding these dynamics is the first step for you to unlock what is really stopping us from moving forward. It's as if you're carrying a backpack full of weights, invisible, and only we can understand when we take out one at a time. And in doing so, we noticed that it seemed to be a burden unbearable it was. In fact, it's a narrative that we created for you and feed it from time to time. When we let go of these stories, and we made room for a new phase, a phase in which our actions are driven by a growth mindset and authenticity. Thus, every decision we make goes on to reflect on the very essence of who we are and who we can be, and the more that they told us that we had to be or feel. This is a journey, so it's a call to courage, to discover, to explore the behind the scenes of your own mind, and to challenge the things that seem to be set in stone. Because at the end of the day, the greatest change happens when we become conscious that we are the authors of our own story. And with this in mind, we can rewrite each of the chapters with the intention, purpose, and freedom. And in doing so, we realize that all around you are also transformed because of the change in the internal echo of the impact of external, by creating a chain that is where we can help ourselves. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. I now want to go more in depth on this topic because understanding the relationship between our mind and our reality is how to find a key to unlock the doors which before seemed to be closed for the purpose." So the real question is, how can we transform this understanding into concrete actions that will truly change the game? Many of the people living in the comfort zone, believing that the external changes that are responsible for the outcome, when in reality, it all starts there. This is one of the biggest revelations that very few have had the courage to admit it. The ability to shape one's own destiny is in how we choose to think, feel, and act in the face of such circumstances. To explore the behind the scenes of this journey, we see that the transformation is not something that just happens by chance. It is the result of a conscious decision to take control of our narrative. It is like a seed which, when planted in the mind, it begins to germinate the ideas, emotions, and behaviors, which in turn attracts new opportunities and experiences. It's a cycle that feeds back, where every minor change in its internal structure generates an external impact is greater than we can imagine. And then we get the dimension of the mind, which acts as a filter that defines how we see the world, and therefore is how we react to it. The truth is hidden behind a lot of stories of success and overcoming it, is that they didn't think of factors such as random or by chance. They were born out of an internal decision on a change of view that has changed is the manner in which the person sees and their limitations and possibilities. This is a change of mindset is about having the courage to confront the limiting beliefs, the many times that we have inherited from previous generations or imposed upon them by a society that insists on the label and categorize. When we begin to question these beliefs, we've noticed that a lot of them are just stories that we tell, the stories that keep us from moving forward, to draw attention to and create a new narrative. And it's this journey of self-discovery is filled with lots of signs. It is as if, for each layer, which we have found ourselves in a new light in what seemed to be an obscure or out of reach. In the process, we learn to observe our thoughts are with the most attention to. You recognize the patterns that undermine and replace them with other, more in line with our deepest desires. And this change in mindset, in turn, begins to have an impact on our daily decisions, our choices, that a lot of times they seem small, but they are, in fact, the building blocks of our story of transformation. To the extent that such a change in its internal structure is consolidated, we have begun to realize that the impact extends well beyond the US. The way that we do, the energy that we send out, has a direct influence on the people around us, creating a sort of domino effect, etc. It's as if, when you adjust the focus inner, you could also be able to set the focus on the external, thus making it all the more clear, more real, more in line with who you really are or want to be. It is a journey of discovery that reveals the power we have to create, modify, and rewrite our own narrative, with the freedom to choose the next chapter. And at this point, it is clear that the process is not a linear path, not a magic bullet. It is a construction that is a daily practice and constant attention to, and made a conscious decision. Each and every choice that we make, it reaffirms our intention to be the authors of our own story, and it is about having the courage to face your own limits and honesty in order to recognize the patterns that hold us purpose, and the determination to move forward, even in the face of adversity. After all, it's the true transformation happens when we decide that our story is not overwritten by other people or outside circumstances, but we are the same, each and every day with purpose and authenticity. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the truth hidden behind all of this change, is that, too often, we are caught up in a web of invisible beliefs and constraints that shape every decision we make without even realizing it. This kind of faith, that it is often not even recognized as such, they serve as a filter that distorts our perception of reality by creating a kind of internal narrative that keeps us from moving forward in truth. They feed off of the fears, concerns, past experiences, and even to the opinions of others, and forming a sort of wall psychological that hangs in the comfort zone, even when it ansiamos for something different, something more. But what few realize is that this wall is not a mountain. It is built of brick by brick for our own decisions, and for the thoughts of what we gain strength, and for the reasons which we have created in order not to change. And it is precisely at this point that the transformation to begin to happen. To be aware of this construction, we can start to take it apart, one brick at a time. This is a journey of self-discovery, is a revelation silent, a kind of removal of a mask from which we hide from our own limitations. And in doing so, we have found that many of our deeply held beliefs were, in fact, only about of the stories that we tell to ourselves and to you, and with a new perspective, you lose power. Think of the transformation as well as an internal revolution. This is critical, because it is about having the courage to challenge what has always been regarded as a normal and natural. This is not a change in the surface, in a fit of rout fleeting, but a true transformation of the mind. It is important to understand that our thoughts create our emotions, and therefore, our actions. If you want to break cycles of disappointment or of stagnation, we need to question the roots of these emotions, and to understand where they come from, and to, above all else, you decide that you can choose from a story that is different. This is a decision, no matter how simple it may seem, is the first step to lasting change. The other aspect that is worth noting is that this journey of transformation is non-linear. It comes with its ups and downs, the moments of clarity and moments of doubt, and that's okay. The key is to understand that each and every doubt, every fear, it's an opportunity to learn, and a clue that points to something else that needs to be worked on. When we realize this, we begin to see our difficulties as insurmountable obstacles, but as a part of the process of growing up. Every challenge, every decision made in a thoughtful way, it strengthens our brand new mindset and helps prepare you for the next steps of this journey. At the same time, it is important to note that the transformation is also behind the scenes of our choices on a daily basis. It manifests itself in what we choose to do in life. It is the small actions that seem to be easy, but as a whole, have had a profound impact. This is a change of attitude, and as we take our own chances. And at the same time, this change causes a ripple effect and impact on the people around us, our relationships, and our opportunities for you. Every decision that we make, with the purpose of it, is like a seed planted in fertile soil, which over time, to give the fruit of living a life more aligned with who you really are. For this reason, it is important that we do not underestimate the power of small choices. They are the raw material for the processing. When we act in a thoughtful way to figure out what it really does make sense to us, we begin to rewrite our history, from the inside to the outside. This internal change is reflected in our attitude, our energy, and the way we see the world. And in the process, we discovered that the real freedom is the ability to decide who you want to be, regardless of the external circumstances. This freedom is born of the spirit renewed, the decision daily to take control of their own narrative and to develop, even in the face of obstacles not seen. As I reflect back on all of this, it is clear that the transformation is not a great achievement to be isolated, but a solid construction. It is a journey of self-discovery, courage, and self-discipline, with each step taken in the way it reveals a new layer of who we are and who we can become. And when you look at this track record, we find that the impact is more profound. It comes to the inside, in that secret place, where our decisions, the more sincere is our true essence. And that's where it starts to gain a new meaning, a new direction, a new life. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is exactly in the interior, at the point where our emotions in a more genuine, if you are using our convictions, more quiet, and that's the true transformation takes place. Very often we go through the years looking for changes in the external and trying to adjust to situations, patterns, and even the appearance, but not in the way of what really drives us is in there, hiding, waiting for you to have the courage to look into the case. It's that time of courage to be that everything changes. We begin to realize that the impact does not come from external factors, but also the alignment of the internal, of the real, with who we are. In fact, that commitment is silent, to become the best. The beauty of this trek is that it is non-linear. There is no magic formula that, when applied, it ensures that a change instantly. Those who search for that kind of result, just out of frustration, because the real change requires a deep dive into the own story, in their own own minds and in our hearts. And here comes the importance of understanding the decisions that we make along the way, because for each choice, as small as it may seem, it is a critical piece in the puzzle of self-discovery. When we learn to watch our thoughts or with the most attention, we've noticed that a lot of them are both full of beliefs that don't even belong to us, but that we have imposed upon them by past experiences, the environment, or even for other people who want to plant seeds of doubt in all of us. To be free of these shackles and invisible, we can begin to see possibilities where before you could only see the obstacles. This shift in mindset, one that is often misunderstood, released, or the hope to be empty, in fact, it is of a reprogramming of internal memory. It's like if you opened up a door that, before, he remained closed off, revealing a scenario of a new one, full of opportunities for you that before would have seemed impossible. In this process, it is essential to understand the impact of our decision-making is not restricted to this. It echoes throughout the whole of our journey to shape who we are and who we can become. With each step, conscious of every choice that is aligned with our essence, it builds up a bridge in a solid between who you are now and what you want to be tomorrow. And at this rate, you start to see the truth hidden behind a lot of the difficulty lies in how we interpret our own experiences. Many of the stories that we tell about ourselves and were created by him, and for the most part of the time, it doesn't reflect who you truly are. In this narrative, one that is many, many times, is full of limitations, fears, and expectations that keep us from moving forward. But when you look into it with care and sincerity, we are able to unlock the stories and rewrite them in a new light, one that is more in line with our dreams and our deepest beliefs. This is a change of heart, of mind. It's not something that happens in an hour or so to the other one. It's a construction site daily, with a decision set out to reconnect with what really matters to you. And when you do that, you start to realize that the journey of transformation is not the only search results, but it is a real expansion in our mind's eye, an enlargement of our understanding of who we are and what we are able to achieve. It is in this movement of self-knowledge, that is, we find the strength to move forward, even in the face of adversity, because we think that they are just a part of the path. It is a challenge to be versions of each of the more authentic and stronger than ourselves. In the end, to deepen this discussion, it is clear that the essence of the change, it is the courage to face your own truth and to confront the things that we avoid and agree that, often, the biggest transformation comes when we choose to leave the old patterns and embrace new opportunities. This is a journey of self-discovery is, in effect, a silent revolution, which takes place in the interior, and that, when properly grown, has the power to transform all of reality. Every decision we make, every thought we choose to nourish himself, it is a seed that is planted in the fertile soil of the possibilities of what is on the inside. And when you dress them up with care, patience, and honesty, and we've built a life that reflects who we truly are and who we can become. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me." I now want to go more in depth on this topic, because they understand the power of our choices. It's how to hack one of the greatest secrets of the universe is inside. Each and every decision that you make, however small it may seem, bears the load of an impact that many of the times we are not able to understand right away. It's like throwing a stone into a lake with silent waves spread out and play on the edge, and after a long time, its effect is still reverberates. And that's just how our everyday actions, the thoughts that it reinforces, or you disclose it, the feelings that you feed it, or do we leave to one side. The truth is hidden. It is that, too often, we unknowingly trapped in the routine of the mind over the limit. In our own minds, which is supposed to be an ally in our journey of transformation, and it could become a prison if we don't learn how to take control of it. And it is at this point that an understanding of the impact of our decision-making, it becomes a tool of power. When you start to realize that every choice, every action, is a seed that can grow into something stronger, healthier, or otherwise something that you hold them to the standards to be negative, it all starts to make sense, in a way that's more in-depth. If you think about it, in a journey of transformation, it is built up by a series of small victories and more informed choices. It's not that we need to make huge changes all at once, but rather that each step is taken with the intent to have the potential to bring us closer to a better version of ourselves. And in the process, the mind is everything. It is the foundation upon which we build our choices, our actions, and therefore our reality. When we cultivate an open-minded, resilient, positive, and our eyes begin to see possibilities where before you could only see the obstacles. And this change in perspective is one of the revelations in the most dramatic of our journey of self-discovery. It is at this point that we come up with the revelations that are often hidden behind the scenes of your own mind. We hold these truths are hidden, and that will only be revealed when we are ready to look at the sincerity on the inside, show that the greatest change happens from the inside to the outside. It doesn't help to change the appearance of their external circumstances if, inside, we still have the old thoughts, insecurities, and limiting beliefs. The real difference is in the depth of what we believe is possible for ourselves. It is a journey of self-discovery, which is about having the courage to face our own shadows, accepting our imperfections, and, at the same time, recognizing the power we have to rewrite our history. And when you think about these behind the scenes to internal, we've noticed that a lot of the impact that we would like to make in the world, it starts with the quality of the decisions we make on a day-to-day. Small choices, like to dedicate a few minutes to reflect, practice gratitude, or even to prevent the reactions are impulsive, have a knock-on effect on our conversion. These actions are so subtle they may seem insignificant, but it is precisely they who are shaping the very fabric of our lives. The more aware we are of these seeds which we have planted, the greater the chance of picking the fruit, which we really improve. It will bring you peace, purpose, and fulfillment. However, all of this only makes sense if we are open to a genuine change. The truth is hidden. It is that, too often, we process because we have a fear of abandoning old beliefs, of losing control, or of comparing aspects of you that would prefer to hide it. But it is precisely in this release which we find to have freedom. When we embrace the power of change is in our hands, and that we are responsible for nurturing our seeds with great attention and love, all things are possible. And it is at this point that the day-to-day becomes more of a quest for an improvement of the surface. It turns into a real revolution in the homeland, and a change in mindset, which reverberates through the rest of our lives. And then, when they realize that the connection between our own decisions and behind the scenes of the mind, and that truth is hidden can be revealed, it is clear that the change is a matter of choice. With a choice every day as to how we nourish our thoughts and the stories we tell about ourselves, and the impact we want to make it in the world around us. With these choices, it seemed to be small, in fact, are the foundation for real change, and long-lasting. When you understand this so deeply, you start to realize that our lives are a sum total of our decisions are conscious, and that, when we assume this responsibility, we create a reality which reflects our essence is closer to the truth. And in this moment of reflection, it is a feeling that the journey will still have many chapters to be written. Every decision that we make, each of the insights that we gain, it's like a piece of a big jigsaw puzzle that we are still riding with that all taken care of. And to the extent that we do, is to make sure that everything that they seem to be far away or impossible becomes possible, because we see beyond the apparent limitations, connects us with the inner strength that has always been there, waiting to be awakened. This is the wake-up call that turns everything around us, because, in essence, we are the creators of our own impact on our history, the truth, and freedom. And so, we go forward, knowing that with each step, this is an opportunity to bring more and more of our best, with courage, clarity, and determination that comes from the inside out. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation doesn't just happen on the surface. It touches on the very core of who we are and what we choose to believe it to be. Many of the times, we are so attached to our own limitations that we forget that they are just stories we tell ourselves and the stories that it can be rewritten at any time. It is at this point that we begin to realize that change is a lot more that is related to the internal decision-making rather than external circumstances. When you understand this, everything will start to make sense of the impact that we have and the influence we have over our own lives, and even on top of each other. The journey of transformation requires a courage that goes beyond the fear of the unknown. It's a brutal honesty with ourselves and others, a willingness to face up to the truths that a lot of times we would prefer to conceal or minimize it. This is where you enter with a fundamental question. How is really can change the world are deeply rooted in our way of thinking? How are we to break with the patterns of thought that too often they serve as locks to the invisible, keeping us going forward? The answer lies in our ability to wonder, to break down, and how to reprogram your mind, as if it were a kind of editable you can adjust according to your needs. In this process, we have to realize that the transformation is not a one-off event, but a continuous journey. Every decision we make, every thought that we grow, each and every action that is aligned with our values, and everything that builds up in the U.S. It is like a ladder that will only move forward when we take the first step, even though it is a small one. The trick is in the consistency of each, in the course of maintaining the focus of our evolution, even when the outside world tries to pull us back into the old habits and limiting beliefs. In this course, that inner strength is what is the difference between those who truly can't change, who you just want to change it, but you end up staying in your comfort zone. And so, as we dive deep in this world of possibilities, we find that the larger the congregation is in our own power to create a new narrative, in a narrative that empowers, strengthens our authenticity, and that drives us to act with a purpose. It is as if you've discovered a true hidden, the power to change, that is, in fact, it is within us, just waiting for us to decide to enable it. Each made a conscious decision, each and every step on the path to self-discovery, it is a critical piece in the puzzle of change. And at the same time, it tells us that we are not alone in this journey. There's a universe of possibilities for learning, and a behind the scenes that only reveal themselves when you're open to seeing beyond the surface. From there, it all starts to make sense that our actions, our choices, and our dreams, and even our own limitations, because you are, in fact, they are also part of the learning process, the changes that we seek. And it is in that moment of clarity that we have begun to realize the impact we cause in the world that starts just inside of us. Each change to the internal echo out and leveraging our relationships, to our projects, to our own sense of value. And to understand this connection, we start to appreciate every step taken in the direction of living a life more in tune with our inner selves, the more real and more for free. Thinking about it, it all leads us to reflect on our decisions and shape our history. And, like a lot of times, the biggest battle is in your mind. This is a battle they are silent. They happen every day, between what we want and what we allow ourselves to over the limit. And to understand these dynamics, it is clear that the real freedom is the ability to choose how to reprogram our thoughts and take responsibility for their own development. It is a process of self-discovery and constant, the disclosure of the potential of the occult, which very often we don't even know I had. Because, deep down, we are all authors of our own, a transformation, and the willingness to change is the first step in creating a story that is actually worth living. So, when you walk on this path of discovery, it is clear that the impact that we want to generate is not only a great external actions, but above all of our willingness to go above and beyond what we thought possible. Challenge your limits to the internal and to embrace the fact that it's the power to change our reality. That is, first of all, in your own mind, and the courage to act with authenticity. With each revelation, each made a conscious decision, it's an opportunity to break away from the shackles of the past and create a more aligned with who you really are. And in it, life turns out to be a genuine expression of our inner selves. Go on a journey of transformation that is never ending, always open to new discoveries and opportunities. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the truth which is hidden by the back of the choices we make, are often hidden under the layers of limiting beliefs and patterns that you don't even notice it. These beliefs, but many of the times, from the early childhood, the environment, or traumatic experiences, helps to shape the way we see the world, and, unwittingly, influences each and every decision that we make. And that's when the real transformation begins. We become more aware of these roots. We can begin to question what tax and therefore to rewrite the script of your life. It's like we're trapped in a story that seems like it's inevitable, but that it was actually built by a number of conditions that do not always serve us. Many times, you'll see kind of a mask, a persona that we created in order to please, to fit in order to avoid conflict, or to hide insecurities. This mask, however, it turns out we move away from the core of the most pure, and the fact that pulses within us all. When we are able to see beyond the facade, we see that we have the power to choose what they would want for ourselves, regardless of what others expect, or of what has been taught as the standard of success or happiness. In the process of discovery, and the impact is profound. Every informed decision, we've stepped out of a layer of self-deception and get closer to more of our hospitality. This is a journey that requires courage because a lot of times it involves confronting fears, the older, the questions that seem to be rooted in, and even the strength of those around you. But that's the beauty of this transformation, is that it allows you to create a new narrative, a story based on truth, on freedom to be who you really are. And this freedom, in turn, creates an energy that is contagious, able to inspire others to reconnect with their essence. When you immerse yourself in this world of discovery, we've begun to realize that the decision is simple. How do I choose a new path, a change in a routine, or even to turn away from the people who don't share our values, have a major impact on our way of development. Each and every step of life is a bridge that connects what we were to what we can become. And in this connection, it is what fuels our ongoing transformation, one in which every day is a chance to rewrite our history, from the inside to the outside. For this reason, it is crucial to understand that change doesn't happen from one minute to the next, but rather through small daily actions that demonstrate our commitment to our evolution. It's like a sculpture that is in constant construction, where every decision, every reflection, every moment of self-awareness is going to shaping our experiences and many more. And in doing so, we are not only transforming our lives, but it is also an impact on the world around us, because a person living in alignment with your truth has a power that goes beyond their words and actions to the surface. Now, I want to invite you to think about only one thing. What is the decision you will have avoided out of fear of change, fear of losing something, or because we believe that it is not up to the task? This may be the key to your transformation. Many of the times, and that prevents us from moving forward, it is our own resistance to the unknown, the new, the different. But the truth is, when we embrace that uncertainty with courage, open the door to the possibilities that neither had thought possible. And in this movement, we find that the impact of the journey of change is within each of us, the courage to be who we truly are, regardless of what the world was waiting for. It is your pitch. Remember this. All made a conscious decision is made by the freedom to create a life that truly reflects your spirit. And by doing so, you become an agent of change, not only in its own story, but also on those who you come with, inspiring a string of development that can reach the places that you've ever seen before. And in this connection, the truth is that it's going to sustain you in times of doubt, in the days of silence, and then into the night of uncertainty, which is why, at the end of the day, the greatest revolution that is going on inside of each and every one of us. He writes in, I'm on this journey too. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation doesn't just happen on the surface of our actions or decisions that take it in a conscious way. It shows above all in those moments of quiet where no one is looking, when the doubts that try to invade your mind, and with the uncertainty seems to be the only company. It is in these moments that our connection to a deeper truth, that which is born of the heart, of the essence, it becomes the driving force that keeps us steady, even in the face of the storms, more frequent and more intense. Along the way, we are often asked to review, and our own personal beliefs, the question of the concepts that have been imposed, or that we have incurred in the course of time, and to open up space for a new narrative. In this narrative, one that is born of a closer look at who we are. In fact, it has the power to transform not only our external actions, but also the way we see the world, and the people around us, and the possibilities that lay before us. In the end, the true transformation is on a journey of self-discovery, the discovery of continuous revelation, which seem to pop up out of nowhere, but in fact they were always there, waiting for the right time to be revealed. To dive deeper into this universe is built, we began to realize that many of our limitations does not come from the outside, but on the old version of ourselves, which insists on the need to stay stuck in the patterns, fears, and expectations, many of whom may not even be in harmony with our nature. And it is precisely at this point that the strength inside, she said, when you decide to break free of these bonds, when you choose to look into it with courage and sincerity, we have become the agents of change, able to have an impact not only our lives, but also the environment around us. Because deep down, this whole journey of self-transformation is a kind of domino effect. A decision has been made here, a stance that was adopted there, and it starts to have an effect in a broader sense. In this connection, the truth also reveals a behind the scenes of your own health. Why do we behave in a certain way? Why we react in a specific way in the face of certain challenges? And how can we, from a new understanding and reprogramming those automatic responses? In the process of self-discovery, many of the revelations that have come to light, the many layers of the old part, and what appeared to be an insurmountable obstacle becomes an opportunity for growth. It's a kind of alchemy, the emotional, and where the fear, the doubt, the insecurity turn on the power, courage, and clarity. And then, when you understand that real change starts from the inside out, and I'm beginning to see the obstacles as barriers to ultimate, but as an opportunity for learning and improvement, we find then that this journey does not have a final destination, but a continuous stream of discoveries, of new beginnings, the small victories, every day that they will in shaping who we truly are. With each step taken in this sense does it make to our history, to become more authentic, more in line with what you truly believe in, and we want it to. Thus, in our own self-narrative, which becomes a source of inspiration, encouraging others to also participate in their own search for truth, for freedom, and transformation. And it is precisely this movement of self-discovery that reveals the true motives of the dream are hidden, and the chance to be there seem to be unattainable. When we were able to connect to this powerhouse with our own daily actions, it changes everything. The impact was immediate, even though it may not always be noticeable right away. The change starts within you, if it spreads through the way we think, act, and feel, and then, very slowly, reveals himself in the outside world, creating a new reality, which seemed to be far away. It's a cycle of continuous growth, in which each discovery leads to a new layer of understanding, and each layer reveals a potential to be who we really are. The journey, therefore, is not linear or predictable. It is made up of moments of silence, the questions, the small victories, and above all, of a daily commitment to stay true to your own truth, because in the end, that loyalty is to the one who gives meaning to everything we do, all the things that we look for. And if you follow this path, we find the strength to be silent, almost invisible, that which pushes us forward even when the external environment seems like a challenging one. That strength comes from within, of a certainty that you can only access by means of a connection is honest with who we really are. It is this connection that makes our decision-making, guide our steps, and which is by no means subtle, but powerful, and shapes our story for a change. For anyone who is listening to all this, it may seem like an invitation to a grand adventure. Go on a journey of self-discovery, which calls for courage, patience, and a leap of faith. But, in reality, it is a call to recognize that the greatest transformation happens right here, inside of each and every one of us, and that this transformation has the potential to have an impact on the world in a way that it is not always possible to imagine from the very beginning. And when you realize this, it becomes clear that the real revolution starts within our own soul, our own ability to see beyond the surface, to embrace our imperfections, and to celebrate with each step taken in the direction of living a life more in tune with our inner selves. Because at the end of the day, it is this connection to the fact that it supports us and gives us strength to carry it, and it shows the impact we can make, not just in history, but in the history of all who cross our path. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. If you've come this far, it's because I really identify with this message, and you want to go this route and connection with the truth. It's good to know that we can learn together, share experiences, and build the ride that is often filled with challenges, but also to the discovery of high I value. If you feel that this content has brought a lot of insight and it only strengthened the idea that you've had it, leave a like on the video. It turns out that the US is building a return to genuine. It makes no sense to anyone who has followed with attention and care. If the conversation made any sense to you, take the chance to subscribe to the channel. Here, we seek to bring something useful. You can support them in their growth and in their self-reflection. And if you are coming to the end, write it here in the comments. I'm with you till the end. So we don't know what that connection was real, and that you are a part of this community of people who wish to grow and develop and learn together. And, there's a video right here on the side that complements this exact topic we discussed today. Click there and still am to this chapter in that history, because I am sure that you will love to learn the most. After all, this trade-off and this knowledge will make the difference in our daily lives. So, stay with me, and until the next video, we continue on this journey, always with a lightness and a closer look at our own stories to tell.